We got a big gun here. Herman Cain, you remember him, the former presidential candidate, man, worked 20-plus years in fast food, never gained a pound. That's a little suspicious there. But anyway, Herman, there's obviously a communication issue that I actually stumbled into when I was talking to Mitch McConnell, and to Liz's point about this rescinding effort the president is going to have with this $1.3 trillion spending plan. The president hated it, but McConnell's saying he knew all about it. His people knew all about it. So I think he was trying to tell me in polite terms, like he and others in Congress were thrown under the bus on this. What do you make of the whole drama?
I don't think they were thrown under the bus. And I fully believe that Mitch McConnell knew that the president didn't like a lot of that omnibus budget bill. Now, here's the other thing that's at play here. The president's #1 priority was properly funding the military. He had to swallow some bitter pills in order to get that done. Right. Secondly, people need to keep in mind, we have a slim majority in the Senate, if anything, and therefore the president and the senators didn't have a lot of leverage when the Democrats put a gun to their head in order to put a lot of the stuff in there that they wanted. Now, message is, you got to elect more Republicans in November in the Senate, and you got to hold control of the House of Representatives. Now, here's the other thing that's going on about recension. That is a tool that the president and his administration is going to attempt to use. He's going to get a lot of pushback. You have 435 representatives, Neil, 100 senators, and every one of them has a favorite pet project. This is what the president is up against. And so whereas I believe, as Larry Kudlow believes, that when the economy starts growing at 3%, that's going to be $3.5 trillion over 10 years. So you're going to get revenues going up because businesses are going to be making more money. And then you got to gradually work on trimming the fat. That's
are you
what's
surprised
happening
now that it's not showing up in polls? And I know you and I have talked about this. Polls could be very wrong. They were wrong in 2016. But that Republicans are frustrated. This I have heard from them when I was down in Washington, that they're not getting more praise for their tax cut and the fact that so many have been able to take advantage of it. Now, the rap you hear, of course, from Democrats is disproportionately to companies and rich guys and all that. Be that as it may, normally tax cuts have a much more positive follow-through, and these still might, Herman. But are you surprised that at this point, again, murky though the data is, they're not?
The reason that they are not more positive toward Republicans is because there's this mechanism called the liberal media, which parrots everything that the Democrats say, whether it is wrong or right. When they are constantly saying that the tax cuts were a mistake, this is what 50% of the people are hearing, because people who get any news at all, they get it on the nightly news or the major networks. So they're hearing all this negative news, and they are drowning out
Reagan's
the fact.
tax cuts were criticized by the media, actually at the time, because they were so big. They were criticized even by conservative organs, or deemed to be, like the Wall Street Journal. But people saw it and felt it enough to say, what are these guys talking about?
Right.
This is hunky-dory for me. So that's what's coming up here, whether Americans are seeing the benefit. Some have said that it could be that a lot of people don't have pay stubs anymore. Their checks are directly deposited. They don't know the details, or they don't see it readily. I don't know if I buy that, but surely there's got to be more follow-through here, or is this it?
Yes, and it has to come as part of the Republican messaging. Republicans, and at all levels, the RNC, individual members of Congress, individual members of the House and the Senate, have got to turn up the positive rhetoric to remind people of all of the positive results. That frustrates me, too, as a radio talk show host, Neil. And that is, I find myself constantly reminding people of these positive results to offset all of the negative stuff that in many cases is just flat out false that the Democrats and the liberals are putting out there. I think there's still time, but they're going to have to turn up the positive rhetoric about the results.
Yeah, they're not too good at the marketing thing, right? All right.
Nope,
Thank you, my friend.
Not yet.
Always good seeing you.
Yes.
Herman Cain.